This is Chris Atwood from the Retro Underground. Welcome to the second episode of the Retro Underground here on Strange Ways Radio. Tonight we're going to talk about Howard Jones and his Transform tour and his new album that also features on that tour Men Without Hats and an incredible new synth pop band called All Hail the Silence. We're also going to check in with Andy Rourke and KAV. Andy Rourke from the Smiths and KAV from Happy Mondays about their new venture called Blitz Vega. And we're going to do a top 10 countdown from June 30th of 1982 to check in on the top 10 songs that were climbing up and down the British charts. Hi, this is Chris Atwood of the Retro Underground. We have an exciting tour to tell you about that's crisscrossing the United States. It's called the Transform Tour. 3 bands, All Hail the Silence, Men Without Hats, and Howard Jones. The great thing about those bands is that they're all synth pop and electronic, and All Hail the Silence is a great find that I happened to see them in Boston a few weeks ago. If you like synth pop or electronic, you have to check out All Hail the Silence. All Hail the Silence is a duo made up of BT and Christian Burns. They have an incredible new album out called Daggers, and we're going to listen to a song of theirs called The Alarm, not to be confused with the band from the 80s, but the song is called The Alarm. It's off of the album Daggers by All Hail the Silence. Let's take a listen.
Can we walk? Let's go down to the shore, where the lighthouse has fallen to its knees. There's a note washed up on the beach.
That was All Hail the Silence off of their brand new album Daggers. The song was called The Alarm. They are on tour supporting Howard Jones as well as Men Without Hats. So again, if you like synth-driven music with strong vocals and energetic sound as well, with tons of talent, check out All Hail the Silence on tour with Howard Jones, going crisscrossing across the United States. The other band that's supporting Howard Jones on the Transform tour is the band known as Men Without Hats. Remember the safety dance off of this album? We'll get to it in a few minutes. But a little bit of information about Men Without Hats. They got started in 1977 in Montreal, Canada. We all know their 2 big songs, Pop Goes the World and of course the safety dance when you do that. But their debut album, this one, Rhythm of Youth, it came out in 1983. Hard to believe that was 35 years ago. Lots of great songs, including the safety dance off of this album. But there was one song that they played when they opened up their set in Boston. It was called I Got the Message. It really grabbed me because I hadn't heard that song in about 34 years. Here's I Got the Message by Men Without Hats. That was Men Without Hats with I Got the Message off of their Rhythm of Youth album from 1983. Hard to believe that was 35 years ago. If you really like that band, and you probably haven't seen them in a long time, they're going to give you a very colorful, energetic walk down memory lane, and they're the band that's on right before our next performer, Howard Jones. Howard Jones is out on tour this summer in support of his brand new album called Transform. They're crisscrossing the United States, and a little bit of information that you may not know about Howard Jones is that in 1979, he and his girlfriend, now wife, were selling produce out of a van. The van got hit, it got totaled. He was able to get some money from the insurance company to buy a synthesizer. When he sent away for the synthesizer, they sent him 2. Being the proper English gentleman that he is, he returned one of those synthesizers, and then he started to play that synthesizer and figure it all out. He started playing some clubs where he lived, and then he would also go into London. And when I interviewed him a couple of years ago, he said that he would have to truck in or bus in a lot of his friends and family just to have a crowd. And what's really interesting is that as he started to perform, and get known on the whole synth pop scene, a producer who let Depeche Mode go said, "I let Depeche Mode go, I'm not going to let Howard Jones go." And the rest is history. Countless number of albums, the massive 1983 album Humans Live. He played Live Aid, most of you have seen that if you're of a certain age, and then countless hits throughout the years. His Transform album embraces his inner synth, has catchy melodies, has synth sounds galore, and very introspective lyrics like all of his stuff in the past. So we're going to take a quick listen to a song off of the new Transform album by Howard Jones. It's called The One to Love You.
Of all the people in the world, why would you choose me? To be like finding the stars, locked in our own gravity.
That was Howard Jones off of his new album from the Transform album on the tour that he's doing right now with All Hail the Silence. Check them out. If you like Depeche Mode and Erasure, you're going to love All Hail the Silence. Of course, Men Without Hats, how can you go wrong with them? And the Safety Dance. And don't forget, Howard Jones is just incredible. If you haven't seen him perform, you're going to really enjoy the show. Coming up next on the Retro Underground, we're going to check in with Andy Rourke from the Smiths to see what he's been up to. Hey, this is Chris Atwood from the Retro Underground on Strange Ways Radio. On this segment of episode 2, we're going to be talking about a new super duo made up of Andy Rourke from the Smiths and also KAV from Happy Mondays. Andy Rourke was iconic bass player for the band Smiths and was so synonymous with their sound and the sound of the 80s, if you think about it. And then also KAV, although he wasn't the original founding member of the Happy Mondays, he helped reform the band in 2004. It was sometime between the 80s and 2004 that Andy Rourke and KAV, they had met in Manchester at some nightclubs, and they always wanted to do something together to collaborate. But it wasn't until a fateful opportunity at a Coachella festival around 2007 that they actually said, you know, we should definitely work on something. It took them a few more years to make that happen. So Andy went from New York City, where he's based, all the way out to California to meet up with KAV. They wrote a whole bunch of songs. Flash forward to earlier this year, Andy flew from his home base in New York City out to LA, where he and KAV wrote a bunch of songs. And this spring, they were at Abbey Road Studios recording a whole bunch of new material, which will be released at a later date, an EP, as well as a docu-film about what they were doing at Abbey Road Studios. If you like Iggy and the Stooges, Queens of the Stone Age, and Kasabian, as well as Primal Screen, and the Smiths and Happy Mondays, I think you're going to like the debut clip by Blitz Vega. It's called Hey Christo on the Retro Underground here on Strange Ways Radio. That was Hey Christo by Blitz Vega featuring Andy Rourke from the Smiths as well as KAV from the Happy Mondays. Look for their EP and a mini tour later this summer. Coming up next on the Retro Underground is a top 10 countdown from the British charts from June 30th, 1982. Welcome to the final segment of the Retro Underground here on Strange Ways Radio from my radio station 95.9 WATD in the Boston area. This is where we count down the top 10 songs that were climbing up and down the British charts for the week of June 30th, 1982. Starting us off at number 10, it's Gary Newman, We Take Mystery to Bed. Roxy Music, Avalon at number 9. At number 8, ABC, The Look of Love. Bow Wow Wow was at number 7 with I Want Candy. The Jam, Just Who Is the 5 O'Clock Hero was at number 6. At number 5, Soft Cell with Torch. Number 4, Midge Ure, No Regrets. At number 3, Adam Ant, Goody Two Shoes. The number 2 song for the week of June 30th, 1982, Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran, and the number 1 song that week, Captain Sensible with Happy Talk. That was your Top 10 Countdown for the week of June 30th, 1982. And that's going to wrap up episode 2 of the Retro Underground here on Strange Ways Radio. Hopefully you've enjoyed everything you've seen so far. To everyone who tuned in for episode 1 and liked Strange Ways and liked the program, thank you very much. We are going to be back with another episode, probably about the alarm, as well as some tickets perhaps to give away to Lost 80s Live. So stick around for that for the next episode. Learn more about my show, the radio program, on The Alternative, which is every Friday night from 6 to 11 p.m. on 95.9 WATD. And you can also catch us on our podcast channel as well. That's going to come up on the screen. So until the next time, have a great week and keep spinning.